Okay, but really, who actually sits down and enjoys reading a textbook?
Right.
Especially those huge medical textbooks. It's like climbing a mountain of information.
It can be so daunting.
But what if there were like shortcuts? Like hidden trails that could make the climb faster and maybe even a little fun.
I like that.
Today we're going to do a deep dive into the world of medical education to uncover some really practical learning hacks that honestly anyone can use to learn better.
It's true. It's not about cutting corners.
Right.
It's more about working smarter, not harder.
I like that, yeah.
Kind of like optimizing your learning strategy.
Okay.
And the best part,
Yeah.
you can use these hacks to learn anything,
Really?
like picking up a new language
Oh, cool.
or mastering some complex skill at work.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But before we jump in, I want to thank London Heartbeat Z Academy in the UK for their support of this show and all things medical education. They have over 150 courses, and they're doing some amazing work. So be sure to check them out and subscribe to their social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube for free updates.
That's awesome.
You won't want to miss out on all the great insights they're sharing. Okay, now let's jump into our first hack, learn from the masters.
Okay.
This is where we meet a true legend in medicine, Sir William Osler. He emphasized hands-on learning, like getting out of the textbooks and into the real world.
Oh, I like that.
So instead of just sitting there and trying to absorb all this information, we should be actively going out and getting experience.
Exactly. I mean, imagine trying to learn how to swim by just reading a manual,
Right.
You never get anywhere. You have to actually get in the water and practice.
Sure.
And it's the same with any kind of learning. It's all about actively engaging with the material and making it relevant to your own life.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about hack number 2?
This one's interesting. It's called Discover the Hidden Curriculum. And it's basically this idea that there are these unwritten rules, these practices, that can really influence how we learn and how we grow professionally. It's kind of like a secret code, dictates how things actually work.
So it's not just about the official curriculum, but also the unspoken expectations
Yes.
and the social dynamics that shape how we learn.
Exactly. Like, let's say you start a new job.
Okay. Yeah.
And everyone just seems to know when to speak up at meetings and when to stay silent.
Yeah.
That's part of the hidden curriculum. Being aware of these hidden influences can help you navigate your learning environment so much better.
That's a good point. Being in tune with those unspoken rules can definitely give you an edge. All right, so hack number 3, this one sounds a little intimidating. Apply cognitive science. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Cognitive science is just a fancy way of saying how our brains learn.
Okay.
And by understanding how our brains work, we can use that knowledge to our advantage. Think of it as like hacking your own brain to learn easier and faster.
Brain hacks. I love it. What are some of these cognitive science techniques?
Well, one really powerful technique is retrieval practice, which is basically just testing yourself. It's like a mental workout for your memory.
Like flashcards.
Yeah, exactly. And another one is spaced repetition, where you review material at longer and longer intervals. This helps move that information into your long-term memory.
So we're talking about like not cramming right before a test.
Yeah, spreading things out over time.
Smart.
Oh.
Okay, so retrieval practice and spaced repetition, those sound pretty straightforward. Any other brain-boosting tricks we can try?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good.
There's something called generation, where you try to come up with an answer before you actually see the solution.
Oh, interesting.
And then there's elaboration, where you connect what you're learning to stuff you already know.
Oh, okay.
These techniques really help you make connections and understand the concepts on a much deeper level.
So we're building a web of knowledge
Yes.
instead of just memorizing isolated facts. I like that. What about reflection and calibration? I think I've heard of those, but I'm not really sure what they mean.
Yeah, so reflection is super important because it allows you to step back and look at your learning process.
Okay.
You can figure out what's working, what's not working. It's like taking inventory of your mental toolkit.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then calibration is about being honest with yourself, about what you know and what you don't know. It helps you avoid being overconfident and focus your energy on what you need to learn.
So we're talking about self-awareness,
Exactly.
being honest about our strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see how all these cognitive hacks kind of fit together.
Yeah.
Now, what about interleaving?
Oh, this one's fun.
What is that?
Interleaving is basically mixing up different subjects or topics while you're studying.
Oh, okay.
It's like cross-training for your brain. It forces you to work harder and make connections between different things,
Oh,
which leads to a more holistic understanding.
I like that. Cross-training for our brains. All right, let's move on to hack number 4. This one is simulate.
Okay, so this hack is about creating a safe environment where you can practice and, most importantly, make mistakes,
Okay.
but without any real-world consequences.
Right.
Think of it like a flight simulator for pilots, but for whatever you're learning.
So it's all about practicing in a safe environment
Mm.
where you can kind of experiment and get feedback
Yes,
without the pressure of, like, actually messing up in the real world.
exactly.
Uh,
Simulation allows you to try things out, get feedback and improve your skills without the fear of making a mistake that could really cost you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Takes the pressure off and lets you focus on actually learning.
Hmm.
Okay, what's next on our list of learning hacks?
Get ready for this one. This one's fun. Join the foam party.
A foam party. Now we're talking, I didn't know learning could be this fun. Seriously, though, what is a foam party?
Okay, don't worry. No swimsuits required for this party.
All right, good to know.
FOAM stands for Free Open Access Medical Education.
Okay.
It's this movement that's really changing the way we share and access medical knowledge.
So it's about democratizing information, making it available to anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Exactly.
I like that.
FOAM resources can include things like blogs, podcasts, videos, online courses, social media discussions, really all dedicated to sharing medical information freely and openly.
That's incredible. It's like breaking down all the barriers to knowledge
Yes,
and empowering everyone to be lifelong learners.
exactly.
But with so much information out there, how can we be sure we're getting good information?
That's where hack number 6 comes in.
Okay.
Be a critical thinker. And this is probably the most important hack of all. It's like having a mental filter that helps you separate the good stuff from all the junk out there.
I agree, especially with the internet. It's more important than ever to be able to figure out what's reliable. So how do we get better at critical thinking? What kinds of questions should we be asking ourselves when we're looking at different sources?
Here's a little checklist for you.
Okay.
Can you identify the author? Are there any conflicts of interest? Does the information line up with what you already know? Is the argument logical and backed up by evidence? Does the source cite credible references? Is it recommended by experts that you trust? And lastly, how does the source respond to criticism?
That's a good list.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder to always be a little bit skeptical. Don't just automatically believe everything you read or hear,
Yeah, absolutely, especially online.
especially online. All right, so we've covered a lot. We've learned from the masters, joined a foam party, and we're sharpening our critical thinking skills.
It's been a busy day.
It has, but we still have one more hack to go. Right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, what is it?
Hack number 7 is work smarter and get things done.
Oh, time management. That's the eternal struggle. How can we apply that to learning specifically?
It all starts with figuring out your learning goals and making a plan to reach them. And don't try to do everything at once. Break down big tasks into smaller steps to make them less overwhelming.
Okay, break it down. Classic productivity tip. What other time management strategies can we use?
Think about using tools that work for you, like calendars or to-do lists, or even project management apps.
Right.
The key is to find something that keeps you organized and helps you stay focused.
So it's all about finding what works for you and then sticking with it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about cognitive science, head-em parties, and even time management. This has been a wild ride.
It has.
But before we wrap up this part of the discussion, I just want to remind everyone that learning should be challenging, but it should also be rewarding.
I agree.
It's a journey, not a race.
Yeah.
And applying these hacks can make the journey a lot more fun and a lot more fruitful.
Exactly. Remember, learning is something you do for your whole life, and there's always something new and exciting to discover.
That's a great point, which leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
But for now, I'll leave our listeners with this question.
Okay.
What is one hack you can implement today to improve your own learning?
Think about it, pick one, and try it out. You might be surprised by the results.
Great advice. We'll be back soon to continue exploring this fascinating world of learning, so stay tuned.
See you then.
Welcome back to our deep dive into learning. We've been talking about these really cool hacks from the world of medical education, but they really apply to way more than just being a doctor.
I know, right?
It's pretty amazing.
That's what's so cool about these principles. They're like universal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're learning a new language or how to play an instrument or even trying to get better at something at work. These hacks can really make a difference.
So speaking of applying these principles, I got to ask, this whole hacking medical education thing,
Uh-huh.
it sounds kind of rebellious.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, it's not about like breaking the rules or cheating or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
more about finding those creative ways to make learning better and more efficient.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
medical education has always been very structured, hierarchical,
Yeah.
but there's this growing movement to make it more about the learner,
Yeah.
make it fit different needs and different ways of learning.
So it's like giving learners the power to kind of take control of their own education and find what works best for them.
Exactly. It's about using new technology, challenging the old ways of doing things, and really fostering a culture of continuous learning and improvement.
Hmm.
And that's where these hacks come in. They kind of give you a framework for thinking about learning more strategically and effectively.
It's like giving learners a toolkit, to help them succeed.
Oh, I like that.
Equip them with the knowledge and the skills they need to not just survive, but really thrive in this world that's changing so quickly.
I agree. And medicine is definitely a field that requires you to be adaptable.
Absolutely. Medical students are under so much pressure to learn all this information, develop these crazy skills, and then eventually they have to make decisions that can actually, mean life or death for their patients.
Yeah, the stakes are incredibly high.
Very high stakes. So how can these hacks help students deal with those challenges and still be successful in such a demanding environment?
It's a great question. I mean, it seems like it'd be easy to just get overwhelmed, right?
Right.
Lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But these hacks give students strategies to become more efficient learners.
Right.
If they understand how their brains work best, they can study better and remember more information,
Yeah.
which can reduce their stress and help them do better in school.
Okay, so it's all about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And that's especially important when you're dealing with a mountain of information.
Right.
These hacks also encourage a more active way of learning.
Okay.
Instead of just sitting there passively taking in information, students are encouraged to go after that knowledge,
Right.
apply it to real-world situations, and then reflect on what they've learned.
Yeah.
This leads to a deeper understanding and helps them develop those critical thinking skills that are so important.
Yeah. So it's not just about memorizing facts, but understanding why those facts matter and how they relate to taking care of patients.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the power of community.
Right.
When students connect with other learners through things like FOM and online communities, they're exposed to even more knowledge and different perspectives. They can find support and mentors from people all over the world who are passionate about the same things they are.
So it's like creating this global network, right, of
Yeah.
support and shared learning that goes way beyond the classroom.
I love that.
So speaking of pushing those boundaries of the traditional classroom, I want to come back to the idea of simulation, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Can you tell us more about how that's being used in medical education today?
Yeah, so simulation is becoming more and more sophisticated. We have these high-fidelity mannequins that can actually simulate all kinds of medical conditions and how a patient might respond. So students can practice procedures, make decisions, and get feedback all in a safe, controlled environment.
So it's like having a real patient, but without any of the risks.
Right. It helps build confidence and competence.
Yeah.
But it's not just mannequins. We also have virtual reality simulations that can put students into these incredibly realistic clinical scenarios.
That's awesome.
It takes the learning experience to a whole other level.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? But it makes so much sense because you can make mistakes and learn from them without harming anyone.
Exactly.
And by using simulations in the curriculum, medical schools are helping students be more prepared and confident when they finally get into a real hospital setting.
It's like giving them a head start in their medical careers,
Yeah.
setting them up for success.
Exactly.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about, well, the elephant in the room. Technology. It's changing education so fast, and medical education is no exception.
Yeah.
How are these learning hacks adapting to this new reality?
That's a great question. Technology is a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, there's just so much information out there, it's harder than ever to filter out the good stuff from the noise.
It's like drinking from a fire hose. How can students even keep up with all the new information coming out all the time? It seems impossible.
It can feel impossible, and that's where those critical thinking skills are so, so important.
Right.
Students need to be able to evaluate sources, recognize bias, and put together information from different viewpoints. They can't just passively take in everything they see online.
So technology is making those core learning skills even more important.
Absolutely.
It's not just about memorizing facts anymore. It's about being able to think critically and make good decisions.
Exactly. But it's not all bad news.
Okay, good.
Technology also brings amazing opportunities to improve the learning experience. Think about online platforms with personalized learning, adaptive quizzes, interactive simulations. It's like having a completely custom education that adapts to your specific needs and how you learn best.
It's like having your own personal tutor right in your pocket.
Exactly. And then there's virtual reality and augmented reality, which are creating these immersive, engaging learning experiences that we couldn't even have imagined just a few years ago.
It's like stepping into a whole new world of learning.
It really is. Technology is totally changing the way we learn, and medical education is leading the way.
It's a pretty exciting time to be a learner, for sure.
I agree.
But with all this talk about technology and innovation, we have to remember the human side of things.
Yeah.
What role do mentors and role models play in all this?
Oh, they're essential.
Yeah.
They provide guidance, support, inspiration to learners at every stage.
Yeah.
They help students through those tough challenges, share their own experiences, and offer insights into what it's really like to be a doctor. That's a human connection that technology just can't replace.
It's like having a compass to guide you through the rough waters of medical training.
I love that.
Someone who's been there before and can help you avoid the mistakes and navigate those complexities.
Exactly. Having a great mentor can make all the difference in the world. And you know what?
Right.
Technology is actually making it easier to connect with mentors and role models from all over the place.
That's true. With online communities and social media and virtual conferences, you can find mentors who share your passions and your goals, no matter where you live.
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
The challenges and the opportunities, the role of technology, the importance of mentors and role models.
It's been a lot.
But I want to circle back to the heart of our discussion.
Yeah.
Those 7 hacks. What's the main thing our listeners should take away from all of this?
Well, the most important thing is that learning is a skill. And like any skill, you can develop it and get better at it.
Okay.
By understanding how to learn effectively and using these hacks, anyone can become a more efficient and engaged learner, no matter what they want to achieve.
So it's not just about medical education. These principles apply to anything in life where you're trying to learn something new.
Exactly. It's about taking charge of your own learning and becoming a lifelong learner, constantly exploring new knowledge and skills to navigate this crazy world we live in.
I love it. Learning is a journey, not a destination.
Yes.
And these hacks make that journey a lot more enjoyable and ultimately more successful.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, as we wrap up this part of the conversation, I want to go back to our original question.
Yep.
What makes learning so challenging?
Hmm.
What are some of the biggest roadblocks we face, and how can we get past them?
Good question. I think sometimes the biggest obstacle is ourselves. Or at least the ideas we have about how well we can learn.
Yeah.
We put limits on ourselves,
Right.
We think, oh, I'm just not a math person.
Right.
Or I'm too old to learn a new language.
Oh, yeah.
But those are just thoughts we have, not actual facts.
Right.
It's like we build these walls around what we think we can do. But maybe those walls are more like illusions than real barriers.
I like that.
What's really cool is that our brains are amazing.
Okay.
They can change and adapt throughout our entire lives.
Wow.
It's called neuroplasticity.
Mm.
And it means we can rewire our brains through new experiences and putting in the effort.
So it's not about being born smart or talented.
Nope.
It's about mindset and being willing to learn.
Exactly.
So if we believe we can get better by working hard and being dedicated,
Yes.
then we open ourselves up to so many more possibilities.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yes.
It means we're not stuck with whatever limitations we might think we have.
Right.
We can actually change our brains.
We can. And the more we challenge ourselves
Yeah.
and step outside of our comfort zone,
Okay.
the more we build those connections in our brains.
Right.
And become even better learners.
So it's about seeing the challenge as an opportunity to grow instead of something to be afraid of,
Exactly.
and not being scared to try new things, even if we might mess up along the way.
Yes. Learning should be challenging.
Yeah.
But it should also be rewarding.
I agree.
It's a journey of discovery,
Yeah.
We're expanding our minds and broadening our perspectives.
I love that. Learning is an adventure.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's something we can continue doing for our whole lives.
It makes me think about how much I've learned just from trying new things,
Yeah.
even when I wasn't sure if I could do them.
It's so important to be curious.
It is.
So we've talked a lot about the thinking part of learning,
Right.
but what about the emotional side of things?
Yeah, good point.
How do you think our emotions affect our ability to learn?
Well, I know when I'm stressed or anxious,
Yeah,
it's hard to focus on anything.
exactly.
My brain just feels fried.
Right. When we feel overwhelmed,
Yeah.
our brains switch into survival mode.
Oh, okay.
and learning isn't a priority anymore.
It's like our brains are saying, hey, we've got more important things to worry about right now.
Exactly.
We can't deal with learning new stuff.
That's a great way to put it. So it's really important to create a positive
Okay.
and supportive learning environment
Right.
where we can manage our stress,
Okay.
develop that growth mindset we talked about, and nurture our curiosity.
It's like creating a safe space to explore,
Yes.
experiment, and make mistakes without feeling judged.
Exactly. A place where we feel comfortable taking risks
Right.
and pushing our boundaries.
And having a supportive group of people can really help with that.
It can?
Whether it's friends, family, classmates, colleagues,
Yes.
or even online communities.
It makes the journey so much easier.
It's like having a cheerleading squad for your brain.
I love that. A cheerleading squad for your brain.
Because sometimes we need that extra encouragement.
We do, especially when things get tough.
And let's be real, learning can be tough.
It can be.
It takes effort, dedication, and a willingness to push ourselves.
But like you said, it's worth it.
It is. Learning can completely transform our lives.
It can.
It opens up new doors, gives us different perspectives,
Yep.
and helps us understand ourselves and the world better.
It's an investment in ourselves that keeps paying off.
So well said.
Thank you.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We talked about the challenges and the rewards of learning,
Uh-huh.
the amazing power of cognitive science,
Yes.
how important simulation and technology are,
Right?
and the huge role of mentors, role models, and supportive communities.
All important stuff.
We even uncovered some of the secrets of medical education
We did.
and learned how those ideas can apply to any part of life where learning is involved.
Exactly. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And I hope everyone listening feels inspired to embrace learning in all its forms.
That's so.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Remember that learning is a gift,
Yes.
a privilege, and an adventure.
I love that.
So embrace it with curiosity, passion, and that growth mindset we talked about.
Great advice.
And you'll be amazed at what you can do.
Never stop asking questions, seeking knowledge, and challenging yourself.
The world is full of amazing things waiting to be discovered.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of learning.
It was a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed the ride and learned some helpful things along the way.
Me too.
Until next time, happy learning.